Welcome back, everyone. TUSK Podcast, Greg Essenbacher. You know the details of this. I am super excited. I have on my friend Kevin Cumbus from TUSK, the founder. Yes, indeed. We finally connected. Our calendars got together, and he's here live and in person. Kevin's journey in dentistry began in 1976 as the son of a pediatric dentist, which means I'm 5 years older than you, so you got to respect your elders while we're on the program today. So recognizing valuation gap in dental practice ownership, that's how he founded TUSK Partners to help practice owners maximize their value in sales. With nearly 2 decades of experience, Kevin has valued and sold over 150 dental practices, managed $100 million in revenue in the DSO, brings investment banking, holds a BA from Washington, UW. You're a Husky?
Oh, no, Washington Elite, Lexington, Virginia.
Oh, Washington Elite. Oh, I didn't read the rest of it. No, gosh, I was just going to say that you're just like my husband. And during the national championship game, we had to be separated in our own household from my son, and an MBA from the Babcock School of Management at Wake Forest University. So a Demon Deacon, right? From Wake Forest,
That's right.
if I'm not mistaken. All right, I got that right. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Greg, it's awesome to be here. Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're a part of my second half of the first century of shows. It's not a century. It actually is. So you're in the 50s
They
now
feel like
of
it.
my shows. Yeah, I am. I actually am. You're not yet. So, that's why I thought it was funny. Like when I read the number, I'm like, oh, you're mid 70s. I'm early 70s. We're same decade. It counts. Well, so tell me about, in your bio, it has your journey. And so exposed to dentistry from the time you were, baby, basically came out of the womb, right? Your dad was a pediatric dentist. Where was that? What part of the country was that in?
Yes, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. Dad was a pediatric dentist down there. He had a really big practice. He probably had 15 people working for him. He was seeing 100 kids a day. So anytime we would go anywhere, like to Winn-Dixie, to church, you name it, mothers, children were, Dr. Cumbus, come look at my teeth. My teeth came in. I mean, it was an ever-present reality, the world of dentistry in my world growing up. So it was awesome. I loved it. I was exposed to it. And I had the good fortune, Greg, just recently of speaking down at UAB Dental School, where my father was an alumnus, and he actually introduced me to a room full of dentists. And he says it well. I was not fit for chemistry. The chemistry department at Washington and Lee told me towards the end of the year, they said, "Listen, Cumbus, we've never seen someone work so hard and do so poorly in chemistry. So what we'd like to do is just pass you and give you the credits. And you could probably take the time for all your other classes. So maybe you could get some A's to pull up your average."
They just wanted to move you along. I love it.
Yeah. He said, "Look, I'll pass you, but you cannot come back and retake this class. You cannot do it." So that was the one little foray I had into medicine. But I spent most of my career in finance and investment banking.
Well, I love that coming home story, and that, you talk about like full circle moment. And I actually had one of those professionally myself. So, I've been in dental 17 years, and I remember when I first got into dental and I had the opportunity to sit in the back of a classroom at the California Implant Institute with Louis Al-Faraj. And at that time, I just had this bone grafting material, right? That's all I had, right? That's all we were selling, right? This kind of like this one-off. And I sat in the back of his lectures for all these clinicians that were learning implant dentistry, and I paid attention. And it's really foundationally where I learned about implant dentistry. And this past summer, he called me up, he reached out to me, called up and said, "Look, I love what you're doing in the full arch space and teaching. Do you want to come and talk about the business side of full arch to these doctors that are getting all the clinical, and to learn about the business side?" Because that's what I talk about. What a full circle moment. And literally the next day, Arun Garg at Implant Seminars did the exact same thing, because I had listened to him. So those full circle moments that you're talking about, I love those, because it means so much to me, and I'm sure it does for you as well.
Yeah, I think growing up as the son of a dentist taught me a lot. I think all too often, as finance guys, sometimes look at an income statement and go, why don't you spend a little bit less on your supplies? Or, man, you're really overpaying your hygienist. But the reality, Dad's reality at least, was that the hygienist, the front desk, the office manager, the dental assistants, they were really an extended part of our family. And he was super proud of his team. and had faced very, very little turnover. It had folks that at the end of his career that had been with him with 20, 25 years. That's personal. And I think that's what I love the most about the business of dentistry is how personal it is. It's a your patients are up close and personal, right? That's one. It's an intimate relationship you have with your patients. Two is you're a part of that community, and people know who you are. And really, when it comes down to it, the relationships that you have with your team are key as well. So when we're lucky enough to have someone call us and say, look, I really want you to represent my business and take it to market and help us find the right buyer at the best price so we can exit without regret, what a joy, right? I mean, what a gift that they've entrusted us to do that. But I think we're different in the fact that we're not naive enough to think that this is just a financial transaction. This is, yes, it's financial, and I know we're going to maximize value. I have no issue around that. Operationally, there's going to be some post-sale employment required when you partner with the DSO, but arguably most important, it is an emotional transaction. Most dentists aren't like business folks where they have 4, 6, 8 jobs over their career. They come out of dental school, they join a practice or build a practice, and that is their whole lineage. That's their whole career. So it is so much more than just a business. It is the extension of their life's work.
Well, and that emotional journey you talk about, really, it's a lot of it has to do with change management. And I'm sure you spend a lot of time with your clients, getting to know them, understanding, doing the matchmaking, because from what I know of what you do, is that it's not so much just about, well, what's the best price to get, but where is there going to be the most satisfaction, not only for the clinician, the founder, the owner, but for the teams as well? Where is that matchmaking going to happen so that not only for the seller, but for the buyer? And where is that match? Where is that, people talk about culture. And so I don't want to say I bristle at culture, but I talk about the energy, the vibe. Where is that coming from? And where do those things mesh best? Because the change management piece, it happens, right? Because there is going to be change that occurs. And it's the same when I'm working with clients. They're not bringing me in when things are all hunky dory and it's going to stay the same. They're bringing me in to really dissect and digest and uncover areas of challenge. What are some of the solutions and processes to be put into place? And then what are the resources necessary? And in order to do that, change management is necessary. And how that's going to come about without necessarily disrupting the entire flow, because there's some success that's in place originally. And then how do we not supplement, but how do we complement that? How do we add to? How do we value add? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, 100%. Right. So when we're talking with clients, we actually ask them to vision. Right. What does a perfect world look like for you, doctor or owner, or group practice owner, 5 and 10 years from now? Tell us what your vision is. And what we like, it's everything from, look, I want to sell this practice for $10 million post debt, post taxes. I want to be at the beach. That's fine. Other person's vision might be, look, I've got a passion around taking care of Medicaid pediatric patients, and I want to scale this to areas of need. And today I've got 5 locations, but I envision having 25. I'm in it for the service aspect of this. And what I like to tell our clients is there's no right or wrong answer here, but your answer will certainly drive us to find partners that are different. And there's over 150 private equity backed DSOs today. And there's a whole sea of 100 plus private equity groups that are looking to partner with dentists and dental groups in the US. So, I mean, you can almost take a white piece of paper, write down exactly what you want, and send it to us. And we're going to have good luck in finding somebody that can chin almost completely to that bar. So, yeah, it's completely about fit, Greg. And to take it one step further, we celebrate here when our clients, after we've run a process, right, and they vision for us what they want. We've been through that. We've taken them out to market. We've exposed them to 50, 60 buyers. We've gotten 10, 15 LOIs. We've negotiated those and left no penny on the table. And nothing makes me happier when the client does not choose the highest enterprise value. Because what that means to me is they get it, they understand it, and they recognize that one partner has a different vision and has different capabilities for them and their business compared to another. it's not quite intuitive. This is not like selling real estate where top bid wins every single time. It's so different than that. And when our clients choose, the second, third, fourth highest offer because they believe in that DSO, they believe in that leadership, they believe in the vision, I know that we've done our job in helping them understand the opportunities that lay in front of them.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, this matches kind of a personal philosophy about what you're passionate about as well, right? To be able to take like every moment as precious and know that it's not just about the flash in the pan, the what is right now, right in front of me, but valuing every day that you have, right? And then also making it long lasting. Because I have the advantage, right? So for all my listening audience, it's not because I know Kevin so personally and we've spent so much time together, but I asked them to submit some information, and you were very generous with sharing some stuff. When I say, what are you passionate about? You did share that about, being passionate about spending time and making memories with your wife and your children and your friends. So talk to me a little bit about your family and about not wasting like the precious days, because you and I both, are similar in that way about being passionate about our work and being successful in business. And a lot of people get lost in that, but also making sure that we're spending time on what's really important. Share a little bit on that if you don't mind. So I'd love to hear more about that, because that's really what this podcast is a lot about, right? Is not forgetting what is most important and why we work so hard.
Yeah, I love to read. I love to bring other thoughts into my head and external forces. And I've been reading a lot about really what's the point? Why are we doing this? And ultimately, who are we trying to impress or serve, or what greater good are we trying to serve? And when we start to build a business, Greg, or someone starts to build a dental practice, look, you got to be scrappy. It is all day, every day. It is late nights. It is early mornings. It is doing profies if you're starting out as a general dentist. It is being the maintenance man and being the CEO all at the same time. And eventually, with good hard work and a little bit of luck, you start to enjoy some success. And with success comes cash flow. And I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs get a little addicted to the game, right? And as we get better at business building, as we get more efficient at it, it becomes kind of like a hobby to us. And it's a place where we start to define our self worth. And it frankly gives us status and gives us income and all that good stuff that we've been trained to look for and trained to hunt for. And as we get better at playing the game, it gets easier, right? It gets easier to make that income. And next thing you know, I have certainly been guilty of this. We've changed our priorities, and we find ourselves still coming into the office early and maybe staying late when maybe our family needs us. And I start to think about the point of diminishing returns, and I had to get there where you can't pay me another $100 to spend another hour away from my family. I'm 47 years old, as you mentioned. I've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, and I've been married for 20 years. And I sacrificed a lot in the formative years of Tusk, where I didn't have breakfast at home or dinner at home. And I mean, honestly, I think it took what it took to build the business that we see today. But I regret missing a lot of those dinners. And thankfully, I work with a leadership team now that pushes me hard to be at the sporting events, to be home for dinner, certainly take care of our clients, but scale with the right people to ensure that we maintain a high level of integrity and white glove service with our clients. So yeah, swapping a little bit of money for time, absolutely. That's a trade-off you have to get comfortable with. But my job satisfaction and really general health and well-being has gone way, way up. I think about the folks that we get to work with. We're creating transformational, multi-generational wealth events for many of our clients. It's not uncommon for a client to get a wire for 20, 30, 50, 70 million dollars at the close of one of our transactions. And I always ask the doctor, so what's next? What are you going to do? And I, for better or worse, the way they're wired is, I'm going to find my next venture and go after it. And I just wonder, like, if I die with $10 million, $2 million in my checking account when it's all said and done with, the way I'm choosing to think about that today is, well, man, I worked too hard. I worked too long because those dollars never got utilized. And I could have spent more time with my son fishing. or more time with my daughter reading, or more time traveling with my spouse. So it's an evolution of thought for me, Greg. But it's something I'm like anything else still working on. But really, I'm starting to take stock of what I want my legacy to be, not just in the business world, but much more importantly within my family.
Well, I so appreciate you being authentic here, right? Because that is a big theme on the Two Sleuth podcast, and you're really talking about the, matching the evolution of the life cycle of an entrepreneur into a business and what it takes. Because in the beginning, certainly, depending on what your business is, but the business you're in, the business that I'm in, it's really meeting the clinician where they're at. Because when they're at high production hours, right, between 8 and 5, let's just say Monday through Friday, I know it varies, right? So when they have time to talk about their business, right, to work on their business, not in their business, it's after hours. And if you work like you and I work with clients all over the country, that means that you're available outside of those business hours of your local time frame. So it's you're nodding your head and smiling. You know where I'm going with all of this, right? So it's the 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. local time. And then you're traveling. And then. And so to be able to modify, roll with, especially in the early days. And then eventually what you're valuing, you can't have it all. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And so I appreciate you sharing those pieces because a lot of my listening audience are clinician, but many of them as well are on the manufacturing side, are entrepreneurs, and they're listening to and hearing this. And to hear someone that is at an evolutionary life cycle of their business, like TUSK Partners, which they know of, I'm sure, and have heard and see the growth of your business and see that as the founder of, well, a lot of times they hear or see like this prime athlete making the free throw, throwing the touchdown pass, being the Mahomes with the comeback, and my gosh, he won another Super Bowl. But do you see what happens in March? But he doesn't really feel like it, and he's going in for those 3 and 4 hour sessions, the 2-a-days on his own with history. So the work that goes in on the front end instead of just the results on the back end that everybody sees. So I appreciate you sharing that because I think that's tremendously valuable for people to hear on a very human level. So really appreciate that for sure. Yeah.
I'll just end this segment by saying this. It is something I'm working on, Greg, because I did send an email briefly before this
not
podcast.
learning.
Because I did say I'm available tomorrow morning between 4:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. So I'm still working on it. I think that's a function of loving what you do, though, and liking and really when somebody really needs help and has questions, I think it's just in our DNA here at TUSK is that we want to help. We want to take the call. We want to make sure people make well-informed decisions. I mean, you get to sell your business one time. So we want to make sure that if anybody's got questions, we are happy to answer them so they can make, better strategic decisions for the long run.
And when you do have that service mindset, being of service to others through and through, and whether it's in the professional life or for myself in my personal life, if that is the mindset, right? And learning to be of that mindset and being reminded of that mindset, even though sometimes, I'm in my phone and texting and my husband will be across the room like, okay, here we go again. Didn't we have this conversation? Whether it was, with the therapist or after seeing, whatever the case may be, it's like, we've been down this road. Or the kid looks at you from across the room. My son's 32. He's married now, got married about 15 months ago, and I'll throw this side comment of like, okay, are the grandbabies coming? Like, we've had this conversation. He's very much like me though. So he understands my sense of humor, but you get the looks, right? Or you'll be going on vacation. And I literally took a connectedness vacation, right? So I shut off all my electronics for 3 days. 3 days over the Christmas holiday. 3 days, Kevin. And it was so difficult. 3 days. And I literally almost snuck my phone. Like, I was so tempted. And I was like, well, I won't look at my phone, but if I look at my iPad, it is connected. And I could just, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it is an addiction. Just admit it, right? I've been sober 19 years, but my addiction will transfer to something else. But I so get it, right? Like, I will find a way to, like, I'm like, could you keep a commitment to yourself for 3 days? And like, I was driving everybody nuts, my family, my brother's family. And I'm like, they're like, oh, well, can you drive? I'm like, no, I can't drive. I don't have GPS. I don't have my phone. I mean, it's just like, really? Like, do you have to be that dramatic? Well, yeah, I kind of sort of do. So I appreciate that.
Well, I'll say this: it's about being purposeful with your time, right, Greg? I mean, it's like you put away that phone, and all of a sudden, all these hours appear. We've got a stated goal inside of our organization where we want folks who have been here for 3 years or more to take 2 weeks disconnected. Now that is a tall order in our world, and we got to have a lot of redundancy. And we've got to have a lot of crossover and backfill. But it's a goal, right? It's something that we believe is important as an organization. And whether or not someone can actually do it, that's on them. But I do think it's important to recognize that these devices that live in our pockets and on our wrists and in front of us in our laptops, they can absolutely suck every last second of our free time and really direct us as what to do with our day, until we kind of decide that that's not the way we're going to live our life.
Right. And I look at different careers, right, or different professions where they take, sabbaticals of 5 weeks, 6 weeks, clerical positions and tenured professors that take, even 3 months or so. Right. And I know that they'll do, internal work and, they'll do what they do during that time frame. And I'm thinking, gosh, I have a trip like for my birthday of 10 days out to Sydney, Australia. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to survive that time? And it's like, no, just make the time. Like you said, being intentional with that time. And so I think that that's really wise. Yeah.
Yeah. When I've taken trips without the phone, and you put the out of office and you say, hey, I'm going to celebrate my anniversary with my wife. She suffered me 20 years. I couldn't be happier to do all this. Oh, by the way, I will not be responding to cell phone calls, emails, or texts until this date. I'm surprised how many like affirming emails I get back, like, way to go. I wish I could do the same thing. I think there's an undercurrent of hoping that everybody could do that. So I encourage you, Greg, to please do that on your trip.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the validation and the affirmation on that for sure. All right, Kevin, here's the part of the program. Every single guest plays something called What the Sleuth is Going On? 3 rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready to play?
Absolutely, let's play.
All right. Question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
Okay, so I used to work at a place called Affordable Dentures. It's a private equity backed DSO. Folks who are getting dentures typically haven't taken care of their teeth, and they're going to get all their God-given teeth removed and walk out of there with 2 acrylic dentures. I was in a practice, and I won't say which one, working at that office, and it was a stench I will never forget, Greg. I'll just leave it at that. I remember where I was, what time of day it was. It was a smell I will never forget, unfortunately.
Stays with you. Wait, was it somewhere in the hometown where you live now? Don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No.
Okay, question number 2. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
Yeah, so great question. Look, I think that there's always room for improvement, right? I think I would like a little bit of a brighter smile. I know I could probably get that with a little bit of whitening, but I think that would be a nice change of pace. I think my wife's answer would be shave that thing off of your smile, would be her answer, just for the record.
For the record. I mean, if there's an anniversary coming up, that's a nice good gift. I'm just saying. Because I think I've seen you both clean shaven and what you've got going on now, haven't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've known you for a little while.
99% of the time, I'm clean shaven.
All right. Well, at least you can grow it. I can't grow it. So, like, mine's like all splotchy and it's bad. No, it's not a good sight. All right. Question number 3. If you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product. No, you can't choose your own if you've invented something already, because I don't know, maybe you have. Which one would you choose and why?
All right, so I'm a capitalist. I think most people on this call or on this podcast are capitalists. For me, it's really simple. You invent a Invisalign, you wait till the IPO, you dump your shares, become a billionaire, and move on with your life. Oh wait, that's already happened. I think that's the pathway that I would have taken.
I love it. And now like they're a sponsor of like the NFL and they are like everywhere. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Touche. All right. Well, I want to respect your time and all of our listening audience. In the last few minutes, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with my listening audience today? Hit me with it.
Yeah, sure, Greg. I think one thing we get asked a lot that I want to make sure your audience is aware of is, hey, what's going on with practice valuations these days? So I'd love to give you a little. It's going to be a stitch in time. So if you're listening to this 3 months from now, realize the whole world has changed. But look, we've been in a challenging environment with so let's just kind of look at COVID hits, the Great Resignation occurs, the inflation of wages happens, margin gets compressed, and the cost of debt goes up. Those are all pretty dark clouds in the M&A world, because when the cost of debt goes up, these acquisitions that we were seeing, these DSOs use both cash and debt and equity to buy the businesses. And in 2023, we saw a lot of businesses go pencils down, a lot of acquirers go pencils down because the cost of capital was so high and their internal operations were really in peril because of their cash flow situation. So what happened in the lower middle market? Well, I would break the market into two functions: less than $20 million of EBITDA and over $20 million of EBITDA. Over $20 million of EBITDA is tough in this market. It has been for the last 12 months. I think it's going to be for the next 3 to 6 months. But below $20 million of EBITDA, we're actually still able to get really nice transactions done. I was just talking with our managing director, Ryan Mingus, about what our stats looked like for last year. And our clients exited at an average of 8.4 times their EBITDA, which is the highest average exit multiple our clients at TUSK have enjoyed over our 8-year run. So even though there's kind of it's been some rocky road out there, we feel really, really good about the future. The Fed has signaled that they're going to be cutting rates, although they're slow to do it, much like every government agency out there talks a lot, acts very little. We're hoping to see the first rate cut here in the next quarter or two, and we feel really good that will incent private equity to start pouring money back into our industry and keep valuations at these all-time highs, or maybe even bump them up a little bit more. So I feel really good. I don't think I wear rose-tinted glasses when it comes to the market. I think I'm a realist, and if you own a dental practice or group today, just know that you're in good shape. You own a very liquid, valuable asset that is going to be attractive to many, many buyers.
And I really appreciate you putting a recap on where the landscape and where the status of the market is and a practice valuations, because I know that you're an expert in that and your entire team at TUSK Partners are experts at that. What's the easiest way for individuals to get a hold of your group other than probably just going to your website? But is there an easier way? Talk to me about next steps for individuals who hear this and are interested in engaging with your group.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for the answer, Greg. The fastest way to get a hold of us is just pick up the phone. You can call us at 704-302-1043. And because I'm always on the road, I'm going to give folks the general email address, which it comes to everyone's inbox. But that's info@tuskpracticesales.com. It's just info@tuskpracticesales.com.
Perfect. And we'll make sure we get that in the show notes as well. Kevin, it has been truly a pleasure. I always enjoy spending time with you. And as I stated before we even started the show, you've always been so kind to me. And you always are to everyone else as well. And kindness is something we need more of in this world. So thank you for that. Thank you for being a guest on the TUSK podcast. I hope that you have nothing but continued success in the future.